Hello and welcome. My name is Andrea, and this is the second session of a three-part series called Being with Grief Through the Holidays. If you haven't had a chance to check out the first session, it's called Embracing the Stillness of Winter. I encourage you to check that one out. It is all about really embracing the qualities of winter so that we may move inward to tend to our inner lives and really be with the grief that we are carrying at this time. This session is about reimagining the holidays. And then the third and final session will be on honoring our ancestors and loved ones during this time. So, when I started thinking about reimagining the holidays, the reason that I did that, wanted to focus on this topic in particular, is because this time of year is so difficult for us. In this culture, when we're grieving, it is a time when the outside world is telling us to do more, to be more, to shop more, to spend more, to give more. And most of us end up being depleted, even if we aren't in active grief. But for those of us that are carrying grief with us and we're really tender right now, that grief is often amplified and it becomes more difficult to navigate the holiday season when we are just barely able to kind of, be with the grief that we are trying to process and that we're trying to honor. And so when we get outside messages that aren't aligned with what our heart is actually telling us to do, that creates even more isolation and even more of the pain, quite honestly. So I wanted to think about, what do the holidays actually mean? And the word holiday is actually holy day. And we have certainly, many of us anyway, have lost sight of that a holiday also is a break. It is a break that includes rest. In some parts of the world, they say, I'm going to go on holiday. Instead of, in the US, we say, I'm going to go on vacation. But both of those two things mean the same. And so we have a big, clash in our culture when at the very time we are supposed to be taking a holiday and resting and taking a break, we are actually filling our to-do lists more and more and more. And we're putting more demands on ourselves. We're putting more on our plates. And then we wonder why we're so depleted. Oftentimes we end up sick. And it's up to us to start to reclaim this time of year. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about how we might do that. One is to acknowledge that this time of year is meant to be holy and sacred. And so when we, think about how we're navigating, what I'd like you to think about is, how can you embrace the things that are working and also expand your horizons for how this year in particular might just need to be different. And it is so okay for this year and maybe in the years to come for you to reimagine what this time actually means to you. One of the things that I think we also have a little bit of a hard time with is finding this balance. Because most of us don't want to not want, we don't want to get rid of the celebrations. We don't want to get rid of the joy, except if you're if you're in acute grief and you have just lost somebody and you're in that phase of the grieving process where you don't really welcome the celebrations and the joy, that is totally fine. It is okay for you to actually cancel the holidays. The world will not stop turning. The people in your lives will either join you in your, in honoring your wishes, or they won't. You'll probably get mixed results with that choice. But I want to tell you that you are allowed. You're allowed to do that. And it's as simple as saying, I'm not going to do the holidays this year, if that's what you choose. Now, for the rest of us, those that do want to, we're in a position where we are able and ready to do something at this time of year. Maybe it's been a little bit of time. Maybe we do have little kids. We have families that we don't want to deny them of a little celebration. It's about discernment. It's about bringing awareness to the things that really matter and the things that don't. The things that bring more comfort and nourishment to you and your family, and the things that deplete you. So it's just important to take inventory of what those things are so that you can make an intentional decision or choice around them without hurting people's feelings. And quite honestly, you might hurt people's feelings, and that's going to just have to be what it is, because what's most important is your healing and the way that you need to celebrate the holidays. So I think keeping in mind that it's okay to say no. I'd love to discuss a few practical ways to go about doing this. Um, you might, in the process of finding this discernment and finding a little negotiation within yourself, it might be helpful to you to consider that the holidays themselves isn't just a time period between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. And this is a sticking point with me that I almost feel a sense of grief immediately in December when I start to put up Christmas decorations and things like that, because I know it's such a busy, fleeting time. But when I think about when we use the word holiday season, so a season of holy days. To me, this is the entire season of winter. This isn't just that 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 5 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then the new year, it really can be and should be extended into the sacred winter season that begins on the winter solstice. So just by doing that, by reframing and reimagining the holidays to be extended through the dark, cold months of winter, we naturally are feeling the extent of a season, not a holiday season as though as we've defined it, but an actual season. And like in session one, when I talked about embracing that season for rest and recovery, rejuvenation, restoration, all of those meaningful things, um, when we do that, we are honoring our true nature to come to life. And what I mean by that is we are meant to experience all of the seasons for what they are. So, tip number one is to extend the holiday season, the season of holy days, to include all 3 months. So, what does that mean? We don't have to grieve necessarily the end of the holiday season at the end of the year, because we can do those little things, the things that we find really special at this time of year. Mine are, I love the little twinkle lights. I love the darkness in the afternoon because I really like to light candles all around the house. And I love the idea of baking. It's not something that I love to do all the time, but at the holiday season, I love to do it. It feels right. It feels like something I should be doing, and not in a way that, oh, you should, but in a way like I need to do this. This feels really good to nourish myself and to nourish my family. Same thing for just regular cooking. We find that we bring out the special recipes during the holidays. We bring out the special dishes if we have them. All of that can be extended over the course of the entire season. And the beauty of doing it that way is by the time we are done with winter, by the time spring comes, we're ready to let it go because we've lived it. We've lived into it. So, all of those are ways to bring some sacred into our lives during this time of year. And these are ways that we can reimagine things. Um, Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention is, isn't it interesting how during this time of year, we're just craving connection. We're craving belonging. And it's not that we don't throughout the rest of the year, but something really special happens during the winter time where we want to cozy up. And that happens for a reason. This is our time that we would have naturally, in years past, there wouldn't have been much that we could do out in the natural world because it was so cold. So we would have been living on the stores that we, tucked away during the harvest season. We would have been doing real short, or real small gatherings with warm, nourishing foods. We would have fires often, and in the old days, we would have had to read by fire and a candle light and live by candlelight. So finding ways to put our modern technology away a little bit, go grab some books that you've been meaning to read. Light those candles, find those comfortable blankets, and dedicate yourself to this 3 months that is about to emerge. And consider that to be the holidays, the holy days. Um, One last thing that I would say is to change up our ritual practices and integrate them if you don't have any. So, what I love to do is to light a candle first thing in the morning. I try to get up pretty early, um, even though it's still dark out. I do wake up later during these months. I'm fortunate to work from home, so I can kind of wake up a little bit later. I light a candle and I do some quiet practices. So I meditate and I write. And that is my ritual. And through my writing and through lighting that candle, I set an intention to connect with my loved ones, to really move inward, and to receive guidance from myself, from the grief that I'm really working side by side with, and from my ancestors that I have lost. And this creates a very special connection with myself, quite honestly. And yes, this is available to me. I practice this. I've done the same practice for years now, but I'll be honest, in the summer, mostly, summer and fall mostly is when I'll kind of skip some days, things just get busier and I'm drawn outward, I'm drawn out to the external world a little bit more. So, that is where I'll leave it today. Just some practical ideas about reimagining the holidays. Just to recap, I do want to give you permission to experience the holidays in a different way this year, and maybe in a different way in years to come. Um, One last thing I forgot. I've embraced winter solstice in my life, the last few years especially. So I made a Yule log and I have those candles lit. And that is another way to just reimagine things. It doesn't mean it needs to replace Christmas Day or anything like that. It's just another symbolic gesture that we are aligning ourselves with nature and with the rhythms of the natural world that we're a part of. Some other practical things that we talked about today is to say no to the things that don't align with our heart, to really take inventory of what you really need this year, and to honor that and to say it's okay if that's different. to draw some boundaries with some people and practice being okay with them, maybe not being okay with it. But you might be surprised. I think most people are actually craving a different kind of season. In these last few years, I've just noticed more people embracing a different way of being at this time of year. Other practical things, carry those traditions, the lighting of the candles, the tree, the lights on your house, the lights inside your house. You don't need to unplug those on January 1st or whenever you do. You can keep those up, if they bring you comfort and joy throughout the entire season, that's great. Um, that's pretty much all I'll say. Use those practical insights to guide you through this season. So I will leave it here for now, and I hope you'll join the third session tomorrow on honoring our ancestors and our loved ones that have passed. Many, many blessings to you, friends. Thank you so much. Bye bye.